up for their fastest man in the world. He says that, not me. Mario Cipollini, the Lion King. And the rain again has started to fall here. It's been under grey skies for most of the day, most unlike the weather we expect on the opening stage of the Tour of Italy, which is starting in the middle of the leg of Italy itself. Now the sprint is beginning, and Mercatone Uno trying to bring through Mario Cipollini. Cipollini in the centre, waiting to burst out of the pack. Also in this lead group 2 is Johan Capio in the red jersey, the former champion of Belgium, now on the Italian Renfin team. And it's a very, very good sprint. It most certainly is the sort of sprint that Cipollini would like to take on. And he's thinking now of the Maglia Rosa, the jersey he's always promised himself in the first stage. And now he's coming clear. And Capio and Mario Manzoni are the two chasing him, but they won't get him. On the line, Cipollini takes it very clearly for Mario Manzoni. So what a start for the tall Italian, having a great season this year. And now, as a reward, he becomes the first leader of the Tour of Italy. And he's never done that before. And he's now the leader, taking into account time bonuses by 4 seconds over Manzoni. In fact, they show Van den Abel as third here. It was, in fact, his teammate, Johan Capio, taking that third place. So for the moment, Capio is 8 seconds behind Cipollini, the race leader. Now we move on to the first individual test. There was no prologue in this year's Giro d'Italia, and the riders now facing up on stage 2 to a 19 kilometres individual time trial between Foligno and Assisi. And as you can see, the sting in the tail is a tough little climb that comes all the way up to the finishing line and will certainly prove crucial. Evgeny Berzin, the man who shone last year in the Tour of Italy and actually beat Miguel Indurain in the time trial. Indurain not here. He feels this race is too hard this year. He's continuing to prepare, and prepare very well indeed for the Tour de France. But Evgeny Berzin, who won this race with a great confidence last year, is now probably going to find that the challenge will not only come from Tony Rominger, the Swiss rider, but also from his own teammate Piotr Ugrimov, who was second to Miguel Indurain a couple of years ago. Rolf Sorensen, and the rain again falling. We're not very far away from the previous day's start, in fact, and the rain staying here in the centre of Italy. Rolf Sorensen, the Danish rider, stage winner last year of the Tour de France stage into Montpellier. And this rider here is Fabio Fontanelli. And in his sights and going through is Evgeny Berzin, who's picking the riders off. So it looks like the little Russian is beginning to ride back to his old form here. These are the sort of conditions I suspect that the former Soviet riders should enjoy. They're very hard men indeed, although Berzin now a resident of Italy and perhaps enjoying brighter conditions as a rule. Tony Rominger, the pressure on this man. 3 times in succession the winner of the Tour of Spain, that in itself a record, now comes for a real crack at the Giro d'Italia. He knows that today he must impress Zenon Jaskula, hoping to get a late selection for the Tour de France this year. His team still left out, and he wants a good performance. He doesn't even go up to the time set by Ugrimov, who's already gone. And Rominger is away. The very narrow streets that typify this beautiful country. And the arrival of Berzin, you can see the time of Ugrimov on the screen at 26:13.7, 26 minutes dead for Berzin, so he puts 13 seconds exactly into his teammate. So the battle for team leadership there for the moment swinging to Berzin, the defending champion. Maurizio Fondriest, the eternal second on the circuit this year, now looking to break that and try and get a victory along the road. The start, very hazardous indeed. And the man who won the sprint yesterday, Mario Cipollini, he won't be feeling confident of retaining this leader's pink jersey. He's certainly not a time trial specialist, although in the team time trial, with the help of a strong team, he has won those. Tony Rominger settling in, the world hour record holder, who everybody feels may have put that record on the shelf, in excess of 55 kilometres covered in the hour. And then he's proving to us right now he's got the speed. And this is the first time check in the town of Spello, approximately 8 kilometres covered, and Rominger is a little bit down on the star names of this year's race. In fact, he's going through, even with Cipollini to come, only in 5th best time. So he's made a very sedate start here in the bad weather. Meanwhile, Claudio Chiappucci is heading towards the finish, and it's not a good time for Claudio, twice the runner-up in the Giro d'Italia. He's lost 55.8 seconds to Evgeny Berzin, who's home and not so dry. But Casagrande has also finished with a great time of 25.56, and now this is the arrival of Rolf Sørensen, who has been setting the trend out on the course. Has he maintained it up the hill? 25 minutes and 52 seconds. That is the new best time for Rolf Sørensen of Denmark. And now just Tony Rominger to match that, and he's going to be very, very close indeed. But Rominger is going to get the best time. He must have made a tremendous climb up to the finish here to get the better of Rolf Sørensen. 25.05. 47 seconds quicker than Sørensen. What a climb he did up to the summit here. Now let's go back out to Maurizio Fondriest, the Italian, who is trying to match the stars now, surprisingly, who are Rominger, Sørensen and Casagrande. Fondriest splits them. He gets third place, 25.52. And now Mario Cipollini, the pink jersey, we'd almost forgotten about him, out there on the course by himself today in the rain. He comes up to the finish, and not a bad ride either, but he's out of the pink jersey, only 10th best for Mario Cipollini. So predictably, Cipollini has lost his overall lead after one day in pink. It now goes across to Tony Rominger, and it's his first day ever in the pink leader's jersey, and if he intends to keep this all the way to the finish, then he has a real race on his hands. 5 hours, 40 minutes, 56 seconds. He's been racing for 2 days now. Fondriest is second at 43 seconds back. Rolf Sørensen up to third, 49 seconds down. This is Marotta on the shores of the Adriatico, the Adriatic Sea, and it's here where the riders are now facing up for stage number 3 from Spoleto. It's a ride of 161 kilometres, and it really should be a day for the sprinters, but you can never be certain as they wend their way out to the beautiful seaside resort at Marotta. Not too many challenges out on the course, and as they pop up out of the hole in the road here, this is the first Intergiro sprint of the day, and keeping up the rhythm in the sprint is Mario Cipollini. Always enjoys a good battle of shoulders. And Cipollini in that interim sprint competition racing for the blue leader's jersey, which is currently worn today by Maurizio Fondriest. Now the riders having covered the comparatively slow speed there of nearly 35 kilometres in the first hour. And this picture designed to make us all dizzy as we see the complete field in the Giro d'Italia, 198 of them. And so Tony Rominger, happy ensconced in this group, defending a 43-second lead over Maurizio Fondriest, and Francisco Casagrande is the 4th, Berzin is 5th, Cipollini currently in 6th place, and bonuses again on the line today. And Cipollini, no doubt, conscious of that. Now, this little breakaway, getting clear, 51 kilometres from the finish. Paolo Lanfranchi, Giorgio Furlan, Andrea Taffi, Massi and Piccoli. And Piccoli and Lanfranchi on the same Brasiliat team. The other two represent Gawies, Mappe and Refan. And they're making a gain now, I would say, of around about a minute and a half over the field. There's no real big name in that breakaway group, so there's no reason for the Mappe, who've all got the front of the bunch here, to chase them down. It's more likely to be the Mercatoni Uno riders if they're thinking of Cipollini for the stage win. And not surprisingly now, the yellow jerseys of Mercatoni have got themselves to the front to give Mappe a hand in the chase down. And the weather has changed, and much for the better. This is a flat, and this indeed is Nicola Minali, the rider who won a stage of the Tour de France in Great Britain last year, down in Portsmouth, and he's having his best season ever. It just shows you what a victory does. And Minali is back out chasing. He should get back because the field is settled down quite nicely here now as Mercatoni brings it all back together again. And now you get the reason why. 52 kilometres an hour set by the boys who ride a very good team time trial when they get the chance. And right now they're doing it again here and thinking of their man Mario Cipollini. This is the leading group, and you can see they decided to throw in the towel. And looking over the shoulder, the red jersey there is Rodolfo Massi from the Refin team, and that's the reason why Massi is the first to surrender, but they're all going to come back. Just Andrea Taffi trying to go clear here, and I think he's still got with him Giorgio Furlan, but they're going to have to give up very shortly because the train is in full flight here. And Mercatoni Uno have got all men up front, and they're towing at the back of that chain Mario Cipollini. Onto the coast and swinging round towards the finish now. So this is going to be another big sprint. And again, the riders who are going to mix it up, they're going to have to see if they can take on Mario Cipollini once more. The end of just 100 miles of racing. Cipollini's got the front two. Capio in the reds trying to get through again. Jan Zarada on the left, but look at him, made it look very, very easy indeed. Mario Cipollini gets the stage win. Johan Capio on the far right on the rails takes second place, and Citerio from the AKI team, he'll be there in the third slot. And there's confirmation of the overall situation at the end of the third stage, and no change at all. And Rominger still holding on, 43 seconds ahead of von Driest and Rolf Sorensen. And so we move on to stage number 4. And 2 stage wins in the bag for Mario Cipollini. That's a rather familiar scene for him in a big stage race in the early part of it. This is the route they face, going from Mondolfo to Loreto, 192 kilometres, staying more or less on the coast of the Adriatic Sea. But this is a course with a difference, because right towards the end of the route, you see the profile looks the same all the way along. That's because they do 5 identical 23-kilometre circuits. And here's the rider who has set this race alight today, Fabrizio Bontempi. No relation, by the way, to the famous Guido Bontempi, who's won almost a dozen stages of the Giro d'Italia over the years. But this is the less significant member of the group. 140 kilometres he's been out in front, and the main field has slowly wound him in. And the Mapei riders all around Rominger today, because the feeling is that this could be a very crucial stage. No major mountain climbs, but a very difficult circuit indeed, worthy of a world championship. And the crashes are happening as well. 105 is Angel Camargo of Kelme. The 2 boys in red who are having a rough time here are Carlos Galarreta, Jose Maria Uria. The road, in fact, had just been resurfaced, and quite clearly it's caused a bit of a problem. Now onto the climb here, and Tony Rominger in the pink, quite literally, has got his Mapei team organised well as they go over the top. And Podensana, the champion of Italy, not too far off his wheel either. Now this is a difficult stretch of the road, these 23-kilometre circuits. And again, the pressure is going on at the front. A number of riders still trying to break clear here. And this is an attack now by Antonio Pinelli. But it looks as though the Mapei riders are paying very close attention. Onto the climb again. Still Rominger has the riders at the front. He rides 4th on the wheel of his team. He knows that this field could split on this very, very difficult climb indeed. Well, this has been a tremendous circuit, in fact, well worthy, as I said earlier, of a World Championship event. And Rominger has shown just what a strong man he is today. Berzin is on the left of our picture to the right shoulder of Tony Rominger. So he sensed too that this could be a crucial stage in the Giro d'Italia. Not too sure about the race referee's car being right where it was just there, as the Gawies team now start to turn the screw and test the Mapei boys. Go the devil. Well, that is an allusion there towards Claudio Chiappucci. And the Gawies riders trying desperately now to break up the grip of Mapei. It looks like Bruno Kengialta here on the front, who's stretching them clear, but Rominger is keeping an eye on him. And this is David Rebellin, 1 win this year, which came just before the start of this race in the Tour of Trentino. And they've got 15 seconds. They climb up now towards the end of this stage. But the whole field, although it's split up quite considerably, this is a very select big bunch, actually, around about 50 or 60 riders. They try to chase the 2 leaders. Claudio Chiappucci, this is. Twice second, once third in the Giro, but never the winner. He's come up against just 1 or 2 men, always better than him. And Chiappucci trying to drag the race back together. One thing about Il Diablo, he never gives up attacking. And he's trying to go alone on a difficult stage. There's definitely the possibility of gaining small time gains here today. And it's a very, very difficult course for any team to control the race properly. Chiappucci trying to reach Rebellin and Kengialta, and he's going to do it as well. 3 very strong riders getting together at the front. They all know each other extremely well. But it may well come too late, because it looks as though Chiappucci is going to be the forward emissary for quite a big group coming up. And the pink jersey of Rominger, you can spot him quite clearly, is 3rd in that line. So despite the nature of a very difficult course and the distance of 192 kilometres today, it looks as though the pink jersey of Tony Rominger is coming right back into contention here. And there's been a crash on the corner. There's one of the riders from the Lamprey team has gone off on the bend there. Well, service is at hand. And a quick push back into the race, but it was a shame because he was right on the front of the main field there. Now, inside the last kilometre to go here. The race is all coming together. And again, a complete misjudging of the right-hand bend there by the Gaywis rider. Vladislav Bobrik, the former Soviet rider, used to ride for the Red Guard and well known for taking the lead for almost a week in the Tour du Pont a few years ago and winner last year of the Tour of Lombardy. Bobrik trying to go, but he's being reached by none other than Tony Rominger here. Rominger, you can see they can all see each other, but they're all going so slowly on what is a very difficult climb. Rominger is sweeping through here and really stamping his pure class on the Giro d'Italia. Winner of the time trial stage, Tony Rominger, is now taking out a road race stage, and he's going to take it in grand style. He's stamping on the pedals on the climb here. Up to the finishing line for the last time. The crowd have been entertained to a very, very difficult stage of the Giro today, and Tony Rominger is going to gain time on everybody. Rominger hits the line, gets the victory. Stage win number 2 of this year's Tour for him. Fondriest it is who crosses the line in second place. Then it's Casagrande, followed by Claudio Chiappucci, hung on well there to finish in 4th place. A battle of the giants indeed, and Tony Rominger has proven now he really is the man to beat in this year's race. And the route continues down the eastern coastline of the leg of Italy, now racing from Porto Recanati to Tortorito Lido. A ride of 182 kilometres, and the lead now of Tony Rominger over Maurizio Fondriest is 51 seconds. And Francisco Casagrande still surprising with a great 3rd place, 1 minute 7 seconds back. Last year's defending champion Berzin is 4th, a minute and 15. And this breakaway of 36 riders in the beginning escapes after 24 kilometres of the stage has been covered. It's thinning out a little bit now, and the illusion of it always being bright, warm, sunny weather in Italy again being broken today as the rain comes down on what is a very green part of the country. And the main field here, under the guidance, not surprisingly, of Mappe, although they're not very inspired at the moment, has allowed the breakaway to gain a maximum of 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And in that breakaway, we have Rolf Sorensen, the big danger, being allowed to escape. He was up to 3rd place overall, remember, after his time trial. And now he is the race leader on the road. So sooner or later, the Mappe team are going to have to come out and show us again their skills. Although it must be said that when Tony Rominger took over the Maglia Rosa at the end of stage number 2, he did say he didn't want to keep it all the way to the finish in Milan. So this may be the time for Rominger to stay close, but take the pressure away from the team and allow a new leader in the Tour. And it will be Rolf Sorensen. Sorensen just passing through our picture on the right there. This is the breakaway group. And they've gone very, very steady, but what they don't know, or what they may know, is there's still quite a climb to come before the finish. Gelfi, number 46, who has just passed through, and the sun catching the cameras now. That's Maria Chiesa, a very consistent rider. Oh, and there's a crash gone down in a bunch, a touch of wheels and pulled down 3 or 4 riders there. That is what happens on the slower sections of the course. A moment's lack of concentration, a touch of wheels, and they're down like a pack of cards. I don't think that rider's injured. But the crash, we believe, being caused by the Russian rider Pavel Tonkov. And I think it's Tonkov down there in the Lamprey jersey, who's still left on the roadside. This is Mario Chiesa sitting up near the front. And Eric Breukink, the team leader, or at least carrying the team leader's number on the Once team. And the group is now down to 4 minutes 30 seconds. It's no longer 36 riders strong either. And so the riders, the gap is closing, but the finish is going to elude the main field. And these are the 4 survivors of the breakaway. Mario Chiesa, now Rolf Sorensen is going for the finish, followed by Filippo Casagrande and Eric Breukink. They're the men who are trying to make it to the line now. Sorensen taking on Filippo Casagrande in his first Giro d'Italia. He gets a stage victory. And Sorensen will have to be content with second. Breukink is in 3rd place, but the time gains in the end were not enough for Rolf Sorensen. The pink jersey staying on the shoulders of Tony Rominger today. And I'm not surprised Filippo Casagrande in tears. He's beaten some big names. And there he is, Filippo Casagrande, the younger brother of Francisco Casagrande. Perhaps his brother's more famous, but he's got the stage win. And so, on to stage number 6 of the 78th Giro d'Italia, and the riders now heading from Trani to Taranto, 165 kilometres going inland, away from the Adriatic Sea. Not a lot to worry the riders. The hills still to come in this very difficult tour route this year, but there are one or two ups and downs, and those who want to attack, the occasion surely is there today. We're now at 63 kilometres from the finish here. There's hardly been an attack all day, in fact, and the riders enjoying the rather sunny conditions which have at last arrived on the Giro d'Italia. The overall lead is still with Rominger, 51 seconds ahead of Fondriest, a minute 7 against Francisco Casagrande, and a minute 15 on the defending champion Berzin. And you see, the job of a domestique is not just setting the pace for a teammate either. In this case, Miguel Peña is having to give Tony Rominger a helping hand. So quite clearly the field enjoying the day, and no real attacks coming, but the finish will be coming shortly, and they won't want to give it all to the sprinters as Rominger takes a drink and goes back into the thick of the fray. This is Bruno Kengialta here, and according to the caption on his wheel is Paolo Lanfranchi. Kengialta being particularly active in the Giro so far. Very, very good rider indeed, former stage winner in the Tour de France as well. And now the peloton is being pulled out into a much, much longer line. A sign that they're getting a little bit angry, I think. Kengialta, Lanfranchi is the rider setting the pace. And we're heading now towards the Intergiro Sprint, which is the interim competition, the sprinters' competition, sometimes called the hot spot along the route where there's an individual prize. And this little gap now has got 38 seconds. They weren't interested in the special sprint at all. They wanted time over the field. Lanfranchi, Kengialta, two strong teams backing them up. And it could well be that they could spoil the fun here, the sprinters, as we head into Taranto. And in fact, there's a puncture. Kengialta has signalled to his team car. He has a front wheel puncture. Now Moreno Argentin is in that gave his team car. The former top Italian and ex-world champion won his first world title, let's not forget, in America, when the world championships were in Colorado Springs in the mid-80s. And a good wheel change, and he's back into the thick of the fray, but I'm afraid that that is going to destroy the rhythm of Bruno Kengialta. And he can't be too far ahead of the field, and there they are in full cry as well. So they're going to have Bruno, and then I think they'll pick up Paolo Lanfranchi as well. And so Lanfranchi looks over his shoulders. He's going to see the field, although he's sticking doggedly to his task here. The Brescialat team had a victory yesterday with Casagrande, but I don't think that the pendulum will swing his way again today. There they are, and they're not even racing that quickly because they're all ganging up now to decide which one is going to start the attack. There's still 20 kilometres, that's around about 12 miles from the finish. There's still time to play another card before the sprinters come into it. This isn't the sort of road, though, I must say, to encourage attacks. These long, straight, wide autostradas are not the place for the sprinters to pull away from the front of the field. The domestiques are going to work hard to hold this together. They're chasing down Lanfranchi, and they're reaching him. The strategy, an immediate counter-attack. And this looks like an attack going now from the Amore Vita team on the right, but quickly back together. These are the difficult moments in any stage of a big race, when the attacks come all the time as riders try to break up the field, and then they gradually get them pulled back together again. And this is Roland Meyer from TVM, who's now put his head down, and he lives in hope that he'll go clear of the field. 149th overall, and just over half an hour down. He's lost all of that in just under 900 kilometres of this year's Giro d'Italia. Now, this isn't the coast, by the way. We're now arriving at Taranto. This is a lake, and the riders coming in towards the finish and all getting themselves back together again. The Gavies team setting the pace. They've got two men likely candidates for final victory now, with Ugrumov and Berzin both up there in the overall classification. But the sprinters again are going to have their day, and Cipollini has got his men once again organised for his third win here. And Cipollini comes out from the left of our picture now. We've also got on there, in fact, we've got the pink jerseys too trying to get through there now. Jan Verade is behind Cipollini on his wheel. And Nicola Minali is also coming through now. This is going to be a great sprint finish. But Cipollini looks as though he's not very happy at all with the result of this one. He's been washed away. And Minali's going to get it on the line. Nicola Minali takes it on the line ahead of Cipollini, who is in the mauve jersey here, as the leader of the points competition. But for this occasion, at least, he has to be content with second place. But even so, he'll keep the lead in the points while the stage win has gone to Nicola Minali, and this is 8th win of his most successful season so far. Tony Rominger untroubled today. He holds his overall lead by 51 seconds ahead of Maurizio Fondriest, and Casagrande is third, 1:07. Berzin fourth, Ugrumov is fifth. And you go right down to Pavel Tonkov, who's had one or two ups and downs. He's in 7th place. And the race route today, the 7th stage from Taranto, goes right around the Gulf of Taranto before it finishes in Terme Luigiani, 216 kilometres, and the hill coming just before the end, and that's the sort of hill that the climbers will look at to try and break away from the field. Here's our view, Italian television are giving us, of the finish. All we've got to do now is ride the 216 kilometres to get there. The beautiful blue waters here. And I must say, Italy, a very inviting country indeed. Unless, of course, you're riding the Giro d'Italia. And on a very tortuous descent, a breakaway here of 6 riders. Udo Bolz is in it, so too is Mario Chiesa, Finelli and Elli. And it looks as though they're being hunted down by none less than the sprint king himself. And that's Mario Cipollini riding in blue because he leads the sprint competition, the Intergiro, as well as the points competition. And so today he's pulled on the blue jersey as leader of the sprint. And Rominger himself has joined him at the front. Now, Rominger probably keeping out of trouble here because it is quite a difficult area of the countryside. The roads are narrow, it's dangerous. But it is unusual, I must confess, to see the pink jersey taking such an interest on a stage like this. And Cipollini, too, normally a sprinter, is having a go to try and reach this breakaway of 6 men. You get some idea there, the tortuous descent, they drop down. And there's no doubt about the strength of these 2 riders if they can work clear of the field. But the field, I would think, in a little bit of disarray. And not surprisingly, Gay Wiz are bringing it back into order. Ugrumov and Berzin certainly not allowing the pink jersey too far a lead here. So Berzin has got to the front of that group and brought it back into order as we continue on the descent. And the whole field has more or less got back here. This is still the breakaway, but they're only hovering just in front of the group. And I would think that Mario Cipollini, time is running out for the big sprinter because the hills will be coming shortly, and so he's trying to bring this break of 6 back personally. So he can line himself up for the finish down in Luigiani. Of course, he may be disappointed today when he gets there because the finish is a slight drag uphill and not really a finish for Cipollini at all. Thomas Davey, having made this group as well, member of the Benesto team, and having to face up probably to 2 big tours this year because Miguel Indurain in the upcoming Tour de France will rely a lot on Thomas Davey, the Frenchman, because he's such a strong rider. Inside 40, a little dig at the front. And slowly but surely, the riders are climbing up to the heights towards the finishing line, and there's still this breakaway is just about hanging on. Uchikov is bringing across the main field. A lot of power in this young man's legs as well. And he's going to reach them first, almost certainly. And the pink jersey never far away from the front. What a great race that Tony Rominger is riding. And remember, this is only in the first full week of the Giro d'Italia. Uchikov hanging on to his rhythm nicely. Well, he was, but he's lost it completely now because his legs just locked up as he realised there was no point in the effort because the Mappe boys have organised the chase down. And they're now beginning to close down the gap as a group. 7 kilometres to go, most of it climbing now, all of the way to the line. The pink jersey of Rominger keeping in a position where he can control just about everything. He'll watch just the men nearest to him at the moment. Remember that Maurizio Fondriest is 2nd overall in the race. and we haven't seen a lot of him either, I must say. Casagrande is third and Berzin is fourth. Claudio Chiappucci on the Carrera team, always a high flyer in the Giro d'Italia. He's in 11th place at the minute, 2 minutes 24 seconds away from the Maglia Rosa. And now back with the leading group here. They may be being caught at the moment, but this is still an attack here, and it's gone now from Alessandro Bertolini of Carrera, and that's caused a reaction. But they're only just dangling off the front of the whole race, and now you get the picture here. Down below is the end of the tail of the leaders, and now you see the main field spiralling down towards them. And what a marvellous picture that is from the helicopter. And I must say that all of the motorbikes from the press are stuck in between. They're going to have to find a way out of this pretty quickly now. It's reminiscent of the descent down the Poggio, down into the end of Milan-San Remo, the great classic at the beginning of the season. Now the rider here trying to just keep the race going is Alberto Elli. And look at the speed that they're managing. Don't forget, they're coming off the swoop as well, but they're still clocking just under 60 kilometers an hour as they try to stay clear. There's the man that started the reaction, number 58, Bertolini, and still trying to keep it going. But now I think the field has got them in their sights, and there's just a couple of survivors as his Sky Whiz bringing the hang on, and he's going to go for it himself. He's going to try and hang on towards the finish. The finish is not very far away, and Bertolini could get this. He's the only one left of that breakaway of 6 now as the Sky Whiz team try to close down the gap, and Rominger is in there too. Rominger lying 4th or 5th down the line. It looks like Maurizio Fondri is just in front of Tony Rominger. Bertolini hanging on as the riders come up towards the finish now. Rominger is waiting to start the sprint here, and Ugrimov is trying to lead out, but he's falling away as Rominger starts, and now Fondriest has got his wheel, and Casagrande is tucked in into 3rd place. This again has become a battle among the leaders of the Giro d'Italia, and Fondriest is in the best position, but remember, he's been second more times this year than he cares to remember. But not this time. Rominger has dropped back, and Fondriest has gone forward. Casagrande is trying. Ugrimov is hanging on there in 4th place. But again, Maurizio Fondriest is back on the winner's podium for only the 2nd time this year. He won a stage of the 3 days of Depana. He gets the victory in this stage of the Giro d'Italia. And there's the result. Fondriest getting home just ahead of Rominger and Casagrande. Ugrimov, in fact, was given 4th. The numbers have been mistaken by the cameras. 8 days now covered in the Giro. This is stage number 8, Acqua Pesa Marina at sea level, taking the riders right to the heights of 1,546 metres at Monte Sereno. 209 kilometres a day perhaps for the riders to test the strength of Tony Rominger, who has led this race since day 2. And round the rims of what appears to be a crater here at the moment, but the riders are going to be climbing for much of the day and descending as well. And a breakaway of 16 men. They got clear after 22 kilometres on the first climb of the day, and it's being led here by Francesco Frattini, who comes to this race having just won the Grand Prix of Frankfurt, his first World Cup event, continuing the trend of the successful Italian riders again this year. There's the lineup of the breakaway, and Frattini has a teammate in here in Bruno Cenghialta, this immensely strong Italian, who is threatening to do something big in this race. He's been challenging almost daily. And once again, the pressure back on the Mappe team. They're having to do an awful lot of work for Tony Rominger. He's taken the lead in this tour so early on. And although originally he said he didn't want to keep the pink jersey all the way to the finish, to me, he looks as though he might have changed his mind. There he is, staying in amongst with the teammates, while the breakaway itself is thinning out a little bit, but still here is Hernan Buenahera. Also, Georg Tochnik of Poltny, Simone Borgarese, Mariano Piccoli, who has been a long-time leader of the King of the Mountain section of this race, and the Cubino, the leader of the Kelme team. And there is Tony Rominger. None of the riders in the lead breakaway, a particular threat at the moment to the pink jersey of Tony Rominger. The gap, 3 minutes, 2 seconds. That's about the best we've had all day. And Evgeny Berzin taking full advantage of the Mappe team tactics and sitting in there nicely. The defending champion, don't forget. It was only in the last week of the Giro last year where he started to look a little bit more normal as Miguel Indurain got into his stride. And the breakaway there beginning to splinter now. They're down to just 8 riders in that front group. And this is Cenghialta on the front. Georg Tocznik trying to go clear at the back as well. The four of them going ahead here. Kubino is the other rider from Kelme. And this is the remnants of the breakaway. Frattini now at the back of that second group. So the 8 men are split into 2 groups of 4. And Kelme have got their 2 strong men up here. Bueno Hora, the Colombian member, and also the team leader, Lordolino Kubino. Remember last year, Kubino got away on his own and won a stage. That was his first ever stage victory in the Giro d'Italia. And now he's got into what could be the right move again. Berzin not interested either in the breakaway. More the whereabouts of Tony Rominger. Pavel Tonkov on his right shoulder. Well, there's been no indication yet from Berzin just how well he really is going in this year's Giro d'Italia. And Tony Rominger hasn't been put under pressure yet by him either. The group split is around 12 seconds apart, 4 and 4, and the main field is coming back as well. 1 minute and 37 seconds. We're now on the climb, which will take us up to the top, and the climb is 5,000 plus feet to the summit. Very fast but steady tempo. Nobody willing to set the pace at all. 9 kilometers to the finish. Georg Tocznik. I saw him race as an amateur in the Tour of South Africa. A very, very talented mountain climber indeed. Just beginning to get his feet now as a professional rider. But one of Austria's finest amateur cyclists, along with Alain Franchi. And this is Kubino and Kengi Alta. And in fact, it looks to me as though they've dropped to. There's Piccoli, the King of the Mountains leader. He's back in the group now, so he's been caught from that leading breakaway in the green jersey. And also disappeared now is Bueno Hora. Tocznik taking a look down as we get through to 7 kilometers to go. And Kubino, I was about to say, it seems to be the strong man, and as I was about to say it, he's launched an acceleration like all good climbers can. Kengi Alta straight onto him, and at the same time the Polti team car was up there to talk to Tocznik, and a chance to encourage Tocznik as well. Kengi Alta cracked. He could not match the rhythm there of Kubino, and now it's up to Georg Tocznik to try and cross the gap alone, because Kengi Alta hit the wall in no uncertain terms there. So Kubino trying to go away for what would be only his 2nd ever stage victory in the Tour of Italy. Concentrating very well indeed. The team, one of the early selections for this year's Tour de France, and that makes a change because they're so often on the reserve list. Now, can Tocznik get across the gap here? This is a chance for Georg Tocznik to really shine and give the team a big result. The rhythm behind continues. Moto 3 indicating now that we have 2 split groups up front, and the 3rd motorcycle camera coming back to the head of the main peloton. The long twisting descent. It's only a little bit of a brief descent before the climb begins again, and we're going down at between 45 and 50 kilometers an hour. And Kubino now trying to go clear, and that lead car, I would suggest, wants to get out of the way. Because Kubino, oh, and my goodness me, this is the race for 2nd place, and Tocznik has gone down, it appears, just as in fact Bruno Kengi Alta had arrived back on the scene, and I must say the Polti team car was there rather swiftly. But listen to the skidding tyres of the lead car here, because they can't get out of the way of the fastest ending Kubino. Let's look at the crash here now. Kengi Alta had just come back over the top and was on the wheel. And it was about now where Georg Tocznik realised he wasn't going to make this bend. He put his front brake on as well, and then he overshot it. Well, he was lucky he was able to get some control on the bike there, because the fall, nothing like as serious as it might have been. Meanwhile, with his braces stuck to the fender of the lead car, we have Lordolino Kubino trying to get space on the descent here. And these are the legs of Tocznik, who's got himself back into the action. Surprisingly, hardly a mark on him after that slip and slide on that left-hand bend, but he's still ahead of the field, who are now on the way up again. So the Mapei team, as we go into the last 3 kilometers for Kubino, are holding that race together. Rominger will be very happy with the way this first taste of mountains has gone today. The long climb to the finish will help him find if his climbing legs are there for this year. And he's using all of his team, and Rominger holding good order in 2nd place. Berzin right behind him in 3rd. Casagrande is also up there. Casagrande is the big surprise so far. Everybody's saying this young man is going to be a star of the future. Well, maybe that ascension is starting in this year's Giro d'Italia. But this is further up the mountain, and Tocznik has been detached, or really not got back to Kengialta after that crash. He's got him in his sights though, and he's hanging on. Meanwhile, Javier Morleon of the Mapei team is doing a great job here for Rominger, keeping the tempo high. And Berzin and Casagrande still riding in the slipstream. That's the advantage when another team has the race leader. You can, if you've got the strength, just follow. Under the kilometre to go banner. Cubino doing what he did a year ago and getting himself a lone victory on a stage in the Giro. And I don't think anybody's going to stop him now, because his lead over Kengialta on the road is approaching a minute and a quarter. There's Kengialta coming up the climb as well. And there's the time gap over the screen there. And it's going to be more than a minute and a quarter as Kengialta rides up to the line to take second place on the stage. But at last a return for a big effort. But what a recovery here by Rominger. The gap has come down today, and Rominger comes in. He takes seventh place on the stage, a minute and 38 seconds back. And the rest of the riders come over the line. Well, the gains, again, a few seconds more gain for Rominger over Ugrimov. And Berzin has lost a little bit of time there, because here is Berzin. So over the last couple of kilometres of the climb, Berzin has lost big time. And in fact, he's conceded something like 20 seconds to Tony Rominger. That's his main aim. But what about this man, Maurizio Fondriest, flying high on the overall classification? Look at the clock. Almost 5.5, 6 minutes lost to the winner today. But indeed, a big time lost also to Tony Rominger. So Lordolino Cubino has ridden into the top 3 in the overall classification today with his stage win here. A minute and 19 ahead of Kengialta. And then looking down the list, Tocznik came home there in 6th place, a minute 38 back. 1,346 kilometres now covered in this year's Giro d'Italia, and they're facing 165 kilometres from Terme La Calda to Salerno. And as you can see, this one at least is all downhill as they head towards the beautiful old Roman town of Salerno. Not a day really for Rominger to worry too much about, but he'll have to watch out what's going on, because there is quite a battle developing. This is the overall situation. He's now a minute 17 seconds ahead of Casagrande, and Casagrande is still very much in the thick of things, although his brother, by the way, Filippo, who won earlier, retired yesterday. And today, after only 17 kilometres, the riders are under pressure by an attack of some 12 men who've gone clear. And there's a little effort here to try and limit the escape. And again, Mercatoni Uno riders are trying to get on terms here. This is the breakaway. They've never really been under pressure from behind. Mario Chiesa, 3 men down, the right of our picture, is back in the attack once more. This is Girotto coming through at the moment. Rolf Sorensen is here, number 128. Francesco Frattini, the winner of the Grand Prix of Frankfurt, is also in here. And this now, there is Rolf Sorensen, the Danish rider. Number 115 is Farazin for the Lampre team. And number 26 going through there is Lafisse. There's Massimo Girotto, former stage winner in the Tour de France, and indeed it looks as though